It's a very interesting year, to be honest. It started slow. Everybody was confused. We didn't know what we want to do. We scrapped off the theme for this year's event, Future Imagine, multiple times. We had to go public and announce we are not doing the event this year. We had to go public again and say we are doing the event. We had to go public again and to say we are doing the event virtually. And finally, here we are. So we are all trying to fit in with this COVID-19 mess and what it has created. But we remain optimistic. Africa will come out strong and brave. If you agree with me, wherever you are, say yes. So here we are, Africa Beyond 2020. This was the final theme we decided to use for this event. And the idea was, what does this future look like for Africa beyond this year, from all these lessons that we have learned, from all these important things that have happened, that have shaped how we offer services, that have shaped our education sector. A lot of kids across the continent were not able to attain or access education platforms. We had disruption in the food sector. We had disruption in the health sector. So the key issue was, what next for the continent after this? And this is what pushed us to come with the theme, Africa Beyond 2020. I was spending time online trying to look for an image which can better describe our current situation, but as well as how are we moving forward as a continent and what does the future look like. So if you look at this image, you will see a symbol of African youth who is actually kind of digitized, who is working remotely, who decide what time to go to the office, who shows that important aspect of the future of work in the continent. With all that, you came to realize there's also some challenges for them to be able to access this. And this is what pushed us to have this kind of conversation at Sahara every year. How do we use technology and innovation and entrepreneurship as a tool to foster socioeconomic development in the continent, as well as to shape the future of the continent? We are living in times of uncertainties. We are being forced to make tough decisions. Companies are making tough decisions. At Sahara, we are forced to do massive business process reengineering. We are pushed to rethink our business model. But we are not the only one making tough decisions. Our governments in Africa made some of the most toughest decisions in the world. They were forced to choose between bailing out the economies or protecting the people by making sure our health systems function. We came out stronger in one side, in everyone's surprise. Like, everyone is struggling to understand how Africa has been able to cope with COVID-19 health-wise, but everybody knows the catastrophe that is coming because of COVID-19 to our economies. And this is not a very good news for SMEs and businesses operating in the continent. While businesses in other places in the world have had those luxury of receiving financial support, had those luxury of receiving technical support, tax waivers and everything, most of the businesses in Africa were not strategically positioned to be able to access those support. And one of the major reasons is because most of them are informal, they operate remote, but believe me, they are the ones who are actually transforming the economy of the continent. But another key and very important issue, these SMEs contribute to at least 80% of all jobs that are created in the continent. Now, on one side, you have one of the youngest continents. You have approximately around 18 million youth who are coming into the job market. And at the same time, you have one sector which is extremely crucial for the economy, struggling, which provide a lot of jobs. And now the key question is, how do we move from here? How can we find solutions that can actually help us to navigate in this crisis? I know there's a lot of solutions out there that people are working on. One important aspect of this is, how can we use technology as a tool to address this challenge? Can we rely on platform economy and allow our businesses to access new markets, new business opportunities, and to reinvent their business model? Can we adapt gig economy so that our young people can work remotely and do freelancing and being able to capitalize on job opportunities in other markets? Can we do shared economy and use all the platforms that already exist? The key issue, whether COVID was here or not, Africa needs to rethink its future because we need to create these jobs. More young people are graduating and they don't have opportunities. We see what is happening in some of the major African city political disruptions, protests, and everything. When you look on the underlying issue, most of the time, primarily, is purely based on the economic pressure. To be able to support these businesses, we cannot continue to rely on some of the old traditional approaches. We cannot continue to copycat what is happening in Silicon Valley or in Startup Nation in Israel. We need to create our own systems, even be more disruptive in terms of our thinking. Can we come up even with our new ways to fund innovations and businesses in the continent? What do we need to do to find a way to generate the next generation of African, zebracons, where they can be able to invest more in our people, where they can be able to create opportunity for our young people, where they can be able to employ our young people. And that is what we'll be discussing tomorrow with my partner, Vusi Sembekwayo from My Growth Fund. So don't miss that session. It's happening tomorrow. But this is part of that core conversation. But also what you come to realize is not only about funding, it's not about the crisis, not only about technology. If you ask me today, what is the most important problem for Africa right now? If they fix, we'll be able to move as a if we fix, we'll be able to move as a continent. In one word, that one word will be leadership. Leadership is critical to this continent. But you cannot have strong leadership if you don't invest on fixing your political systems. My biggest worry right now is the increased influence on digital platforms on political scenario in Africa. In other aspects can be good because it gives people freedom to speak, give people access to make decisions, organize rallies and being heard. But on another side is, what if we fell into the Cambridge Analytica situation? When you have a company that can play around with the US election, and the key question is, what happens if they do the same to an African country? Are we prepared? Do we have those internal systems and structures that prepares for those kind of things? You have algorithms that are being written today with some big companies that shape how people make decisions, how they follow a certain agenda. How are we prepared? Do we have internal systems and structures that allow us to survive those kind of things? It's very important, and they need to be homegrown. The other funny fact, we all talk about the machine taking over. We talk the stories of all robots and everything. Whenever I hear someone talks about things like, Boston Dynamics and those dogs doing flip-flops and everything, to me it's just like another version of Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicle. It doesn't affect anything. It's just a movie. What I'm looking at is how those technology will shape the narrative of our continent. How those technologies will disrupt how our young people think. If you have a technology which is pushing our young people to gamble more than attain knowledge online, I'll be concerned. If you put more money in some of the business, you know what I'm talking about, instead of putting money into research where we can have impact in education, where we can have impact in health sector, where we can have impact in agriculture, then it tends to make us question our priority as a continent. But this cannot be shaped by anyone. This can only be shaped by Africans themselves, understanding their priorities and how do we want to adapt this technology for our own good. And we need to create our own talent. We need to be part of the process, because if we don't do that, digital colonialism is real and we'll be colonized again. And this is extremely important. And finally, to be honest, technology is just a tool. is not a solution. We need to find a way to make technology more relevant. We need to find technology to make, we need to find a way to make technology more feasible, more desirable, and more viable. Like, how can we make it actually address things that matter? It's not about those top layer interventions, creating apps and everything. It's about really transforming lives of people at a completely grassroots level. 4,000 BC, long time ago, the hand oil was made in Egypt. It became a symbol of civilization in the community. It's still being used up to today. It might not be efficient, but it was a cross-cutting innovation which addressed really problem for people at different social status, and it was able to actually completely transform the society. Can we bring AI, blockchain, big data, additive manufacturing to this level so that these technologies can really transform our economies, can really improve the livelihood of our people, and can really help us to have that prosperous future at the continent we are looking for. Thank you so much. We'll be having these conversations in the next 2 days, starting today. Don't miss. The hashtag is Africa Beyond 2020, and I'm humbled and honored to host this event this year. Thank you so much.